Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavad-padam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Surabhashyakritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmevi Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad-vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Pathaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Gratitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamritavarshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Ambattvamanusantatami Bhagavad-gite Bhagavad-dreshinim Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marutaha Stunvanti Divyaistavaihi Vedai Samapadakramo Parishadaihi Dayanti Yam Samagaha Dhyanavasthitatgatena Manasa Pashyanti Yam Yoginaha Yasyantam Navidusura Suragana Devaya Tasmai Namaha. Amanittvavadambhitvam Ahimsa Kshanti Arjavam Acharyopasanam Shaucham Sthairyamatma Vinigraha. Amanitvam, adambhitvam, ahimsa, non-violence is what we are discussing. That the beginning of non-violence is from the impulses in our mind. That is where the beginning of violence is from the mind, from the impulses generally summarized as kama, krodha and lobha. So these impulses, when they take over me, then action that proceeds from me would always be hurtful action, because that time it is not my free will that comes into play. And therefore, usually I exercise viveka, discrimination in what I do. When I perform a deliberate action, then my discrimination, my values all come into play when my action is a deliberate action. But when my mind is overcome by impulse, it becomes an impulsive action. Then that the self, the individual, the discriminating self, the one enjoying free will, doesn't come into play. That free will becomes relegated in the background. And thus it becomes an action as controlled by an impulse called impulsive action. In impulsive action, there is insecurity, fear, self-centeredness. And therefore, I am going to disrespect the person with whom I am interacting. And that would be a violent action. This violence expresses action at the level of speech, at the level of mind, the first violence takes place. And that is where we should try to neutralize it by pratipaksha bhavana. It is a two-step response. What's the first step? The first step is to recognize what impulses arise in my mind and the strategy of how to neutralize that impulse. The kama or strong desire or craving has arisen also because of aviveka, of what is called shobhana adhyasa, ramaniyatva adhyasa, superimposing a value upon something which it doesn't have, looking upon something as the means of happiness, a source of happiness, which it is not. So that's what creates a liking for that. That liking, if you become aware, then I remind myself, hey, this is superimposition. The objects don't have happiness. If I don't do that, then that liking becomes stronger and can become the kama or become strong desire or craving. So I have the freedom. If I'm observing my mind, then kama is a result of a build-up of thought, usually. As Lord Krishna says, Dhyato vishan pumsa sangasteshu bhajayate, once liking arises. And the freedom to educate the mind. This is a liking out of aviveka, out of superimposition, seeing something which is not there. Looking upon an object or thing as an object of happiness. Sangat sanjayate kama. If I do not do anything about that liking, then that builds up into a desire. They also have a choice. The desire again is because of the seeing something which is not there. If I don't do that, then that desire develops into a craving or a strong demand that I must have it, which is when it goes out of my control. So even desire also, as long as it is not intense desire, I have the freedom to overcome that desire, neutralize the desire. So it is that space which is a very important thing, to create that space for myself when my viveka or deliberation can come into play, which is when I can use this knowledge that I have about the fact that the names and forms, the world is what it is. It is usefulness. What is out there has a usefulness. But nothing can become a source of happiness. It's not totally useless. It's all useful. Whatever is created by Ishvara has a purpose to serve. Not for me necessarily, but some purpose to serve somebody. But nothing is a source of happiness. And so, this will come in Vairagya. But basically, the kama arises on account of seeing the happiness, security, comfort in things which are not there. So by Viveka, I have the freedom to neutralize that. If I don't do that, then comes Krodha. Then that desire, if it is not fulfilled, then transforms itself into anger, frustration. Anger is generally a result of frustration. What is called kama or desire, I must have my way. In America there is a my way or highway. So it is quite interesting to observe our mind that we generally want to control things. We generally want to have things our way. And then we make demands upon things and beings that they should conduct themselves our way. And they do not oblige. I get hurt, get frustrated because I could not control. I did not have my way. I become frustrated with my own self, sense of helplessness. And that frustration results in retaliation, which is anger. So understand that anger at other person is preceded by frustration with myself that I could not have my way, I am no good, I am incapable. And therefore I retaliate. So with anger. So we understand the mechanism of anger. If you do that, then again there is space of how all this is doesn't make sense. When you look at the reality of life, why should I want to control? Why should I demand that things should be my way? Why cannot I accept things as they are? So krodha or anger is not accepting things as they are, and graceful acceptance of what is. We'll discuss that in Kshama in the next value also. So anger is an account of an unfulfilled demand, and basically we are demanding people. We always make demands. First demand is made on myself, that I must be such and such. And that translates into demand upon others. That they should be like that, for my comfort. Why do I want you to be like something? For my comfort. You are for good, you may oblige me. You may have your own agenda, and therefore you may not oblige me. In which case, I get angry because anger is the result of a frustrated demand. And therefore, give up demand. As mind, give up your demand. Accept the thing as it is. Accept the person as the person is. That's called Krama, which is what we will see in the next lesson. So Kshama, or what Puja Swami would call accommodation, is the antidote is for neutralizing anger. Compassion. Karuna, compassion, is a way to neutralize anger. Because anger is because of intolerance. I cannot tolerate something. So tolerance, and better than that, compassion. So this is what we should bring up in our mind. And greed is third thing, lobha. That is because of the strong dissatisfaction, asantosha, or strong dissatisfaction is what brings about greed. Dissatisfaction with what I have. I want more. So I remind my mind, contentment is the antidote for greed. Be content with what you have. Yalnavase nijakarmopartam vittam tena vinode chittam. In Bhajagovindam, Shankaracharya says, whatever you get by your honest effort, be satisfied with that. So satisfaction or contentment is a way to overcome this greed. Viveka or discrimination is a way to overcome kama. Compassion or accommodation, the way to overcome krodha. And santosha or contentment with what I have, what I am, is a way to overcome lobha or greed. So we'll constantly work on this. That is how, at the level of mind, we can neutralize those damaging tendencies. Unfortunately, in this violence, I am the first one who gets damaged. Before my action damages something else or someone else, before that, I damage myself. It's like a matchstick which can burn something. But for burning something, the matchstick should first burn. Is it not so? So anger is like fire. For me to make you the object of my fire or anger, I must first light the fire here. All of these are all damaging. Narakas dwaram, Lord Krishna says, Trividam naraka is dwaram, for narakam is hell, meaning for suffering. We should recognize this as to how they are torturing me, how they are my enemies, and how therefore I must be always on my guard not to submit to them and not being overcome by them. And constantly applying the Pratipaksha Bhavana to neutralize it. It's an ongoing process, by the way. It is not a one-time deal. It is an ongoing thing. For Vedantin, the sadhana goes on constantly. Not half an hour, 1 hour. If that does not happen, meaning that this impulse at the level of mind is not neutralized and it overcomes me, then it will manifest in a form of action. Then my action becomes violent. If we stop at the level of mind, the damage is done, but there is no outward damage. Lord Krishna says, Shaknoti havayasodam prak sharir vimokshanaat kama krodot bhavam vegam sayukta sasukhinara. That kama, lust or anger or greed arises in my mind. The person who can keep under check the impulse of this, he is a yogi. Sayukta sasukhinara. That is called a human being. He is called a yogi, and he alone can be happy, who can keep under check. Let anger has arisen, karma has arisen. Ability to keep it under check itself is a great accomplishment. The first step. Neutralizing, second step. If that is not done in time, and sometimes the impulse will be so strong that then it results into action. Action can be at the level of speech or at the level of body. So let us now address that. How to practice non-violence at the level of speech. Then controlling speech. In the 17th chapter, Lord Krishna explains. Tapo Vangmaya Uchyate, it is called the austerity of speech. So Lord Krishna gives some basic rules, basic criteria to observe before we utter a word. Lord Krishna says, Anudvegakaram Vakyam. Make sure that your words do not perturb the other person. Do not disturb them. Do not hurt them. So before I am about to utter a word, I should ask myself, will my word cause any perturbance? Will it hurt? Will it disturb this person? All this Ahimsa calls for sensitivity. A respect for the other person. A respect for their feelings. A respect for their sentiments. We may not agree with their feelings. I won't do that if I am. Doesn't matter. But that person is what that person is. Whatever belief they have, whatever sentiments they have, whatever feelings they have, a respect for them. Give them the respect and the freedom to have those feelings. Because as Ishvara has created, we can't do anything. That's what it is. Respect the sentiments. And therefore, not hurt their sentiments by my words. Sensitivity can go to what extent? Swami, you give a very funny example. You are visiting United States, and there are some Western friends, and everybody is sitting on a dining table. You are invited by a Western friend, and you want to join them. Coming from Gujarat, there is one way of eating. Tamil Nadu, another way of eating. Every province has its own way of eating. But mostly we eat with our fingers. In Gujarat, because in the olden days they did not have any spoons, they had, at least in Gujarat, they had cups, leaf cups. So they would serve, say dal, liquid and that. So how do you eat that? You take it and then suck it. So that makes sound. Hey, mother would say, stop it, don't do that. So when you go to America and do something like that, people, what is he doing? to Tamil Nadu. Now that is even. They go all the way here sometimes, which is how it is taught, because there is no other way. These people are so simple. They have a leaf plate. They don't have a leaf bowl also in it. They only have a plantain leaf. That is where the food is served. And they serve the rice in which they make a thing and then pour one thing after that, buttermilk, sambar, rasam, one after that. And those are fluid, so they want to flow away, and you have to stop them, If you're not fast, you're not quick enough, you lose it. That's why you can see how they're very quick, and before that thing runs away, you catch it, before it runs down. So this is how it is. There's no other way of eating. Very austere people, people in South India, very austere. Look at the dress also. Usually they don't even wear a cloth. That's the mercy. The weather is like that, whatever it is. But that is how ways are developed. But now when you go to United States or then you start being people they don't know. What is it doing? So Swami says, that hurts other person. Now look at the sensitivity that I am doing what I am accustomed to, but when that action will also hurt this person. What is he doing? Why is he doing like that? So sensitivity in every action. Taking into account the sensitivities, the feelings, the emotions of others. It's a tall order, not easy. But a commitment to non-violence makes us sensitive people. Unless I am sensitive to other people, it's difficult to refrain from hurting them. I may wind up hurting them if I am not sensitive to them. So, at the level of speech, I make sure that my words do not hurt. Anudvegam vakyam satyam. If I choose to speak, I must make sure that I speak truth. The choice not to speak, by the way, when they speak truth, doesn't mean they are obliged to speak. Some people think that I must speak truth, that's sorry, I don't care. I always speak truth. But that is not so. That is not so. That is not right. Speaking is not obligatory. We choose to speak, then speaking truth is obligatory. Satyam. And the truth also is spoken in a pleasant manner. Priyam. Satyam bruyat, priyam bruyat. If you choose to speak, then speak truth in a pleasant manner. Swami, truth is always bitter. Whether truth is bitter or mind is bitter, I think truth is not bitter. I am bitter. And I make truth as an occasion to only express my bitterness. So, speak truth in a pleasant manner. And if necessary, if it serves a purpose, for the other person or for myself. If we are accustomed to observing this austerity of speech, then I will be in control of what I speak. And control of speech also will bring about a control of mind, because that control must first take place in mind as to whether I am speaking truth, whether it is pleasant. All that has to happen in mind. So that, in the words of Puja Swami, makes an organized person, a person of self-control. So the ahimsa, non-violence, little speech is very important. We constantly interact with people. And very often we are not watchful of what we are saying. Not watchful of how our words are hurting. Sometimes people make fun of others. In the name of humor, sometimes you make fun of people. You humiliate them. This is all violence. To get some cheap entertainment at the cost of someone else, by humiliating them, by making fun of them, is violence. Because it hurts the other person. Nobody wants to be humiliated. Everybody wants to be respected. And I want to be respected. So this habit of making fun is between two of you, it may be all right, but in front of other people, making fun, humiliating, bringing out his shortcomings. So some old friend of mine, very old now anyway, so in case they're around, so they may remember the olden days. In front of people, do you remember Swami how you did that thing that time, It's very embarrassing to me at this time. So you may have done things as a child, which you don't necessarily care to own up now. To embarrass somebody is also violence. So speech has created all kinds of battles. They say Mahabharata was a result of the words of Draupadi. So it is said. In Rajasuya Yajna, which was conducted by Yudhishthira, there is an architect called Mayadanava. He created a wonderful palace and wonderful, palace, mandapa, etc., pavilions for performing Rajasuya Yajna. And they say that thing was so wonderful that the floors were so polished and so shining that it looked like water. And water was so still that it looked like it's solid. So Duryodhana is coming, Pandavas and Draupadi, they're all sitting, Duryodhana is coming, and this is what happened to Duryodhana. What was his solid ground, he thought it was water. So he lifted his clothes. And what was water, he thought it was solid thing. And he fell in there. So they laughed, and Draupadi laughed loudly and made a remark. It's evident whose son you are. His father was born blind, Duryodhana, and by reminding that, so you are like your father, something like that. Yeah, this is Duryodhana says, I'll take revenge. So anyway, one takes revenge on the other, and the other fellow takes revenge. All revenge parampara is going on. You can see it in Mahabharata. Violence you can see. So, because you can't control your anger and the need to retaliate, need to take revenge is so strong. So this Drupada and Dronacharya. Drona was the teacher of Pandavas and Kauravas. And Drupada was the king. So when they were children, they were studying in Gurukulam together. The prince and a very poor Brahmana. But Drona was very Brahmana, very brilliant person. This fellow was average. So Drona would always help him. That's how he also cleared, all these tests. And so while they are departing, Drupada, the friend, says to Drona, when you become king, I'll give you my half of my kingdom. And they all forgot. And this poor Drona is a Brahmana, Daridra, very poor to such an extent that his wife did not have milk to feed to his child Ashwatthama. So she would cheat him. She would mix wheat flour with water and create an appearance of milk. And that's what Ashwatthama always eats. Oh, this is milk. One day he went to a neighbor and drank real milk. He found out that my mother is cheating. Why, Mom, I want milk. So you are drinking milk. It's not milk. And mother was so much pain. Went to her husband, look at this. We can't even give milk to a child. You were saying that Drupada was your friend. Why did you go? I won't go. I won't beg. Very proud person. But the wife made him go anyway. And he goes, and that time Drupada is king. The Dronacharya enters the court. And Drupada looks at him, and Dronacharya says, "Do you remember me? Who are you?" And he was turned away. "I will show you." So then Drupada said, "I will show you." That's how it all went on and on to Ashwatthama. And the whole thing. Violence feeds violence. Anyway, so this is how we are not there fortunately. But we be a smaller version of these things. Because taking revenge, etc. is not uncommon in our mind, in small ways. Retaliating, taking revenge, teaching lessons, etc. So, ahimsa, level of speech, very important. And of course, a level of the body, the action, that is the worst kind of ahimsa. The grossest level of ahimsa is level of body, hurting people with our bodily actions. At the level of body, we can never practice total non-violence because, as we said, we always, one life form depends upon other life forms. However, at the physical level, it is not possible to observe non-violence totally. You people may have come across the Panch Mahayajna, the 5 yajnas in Bhagavad Gita. They are called prayaschitta. They are the act of atonement for the 5 kinds of sins that we perform inadvertently every day. Even in the Vedic times when people live such a simple life, then also they recognize the violence taking place in the daily life of a householder. Kandani, Peshani, Chulli, Udukumbi, Jamajavi. There are many pounding things, grinding things, the basic requirements. Fetching water, sweeping the floor, lighting the fire. All of this involves ahimsa. Some insects are sacrificed in this. This is recognized. But what can you do? And that is why these 5-fold prayaschitta or act of atonement were prescribed for a householder. So there is some ahimsa that we can minimize ahimsa by being sensitive. So at the physical level, minimizing ahimsa. And also minimizing consumption, because consumption itself is violence. Consumption is violence. Because when I consume, I deprive some other needy person of what they need. And when I consume more than required, I am damaging myself also. It is so unfortunate that the modern capitalist system is based on consumption. And when consumption goes down, the economists get worried. Because consumption goes down, production goes down, employment goes down, activity goes down, increase consumption. So all kinds of incentives. Consume more, so they can produce more, then they can be employment, so we can waste more. Okay. So all things is based on waste right now. Society that is most prosperous is most wasteful. So this consuming more than bare requirement is also violence, because when I consume more, it's called parigraha. So one is aparigraha, non-holding, not keeping with me anything more than what is necessary. Today you visit some very wealthy people, then they take you to tour of their house. That house needs a tour. Ashram needs a tour, the house needs a tour. Of how many levels are there, how many bedrooms are there, how many spaces are there. And then they lead you to the, what they call master bedroom and master bathroom. And I thought this is not the hall or something, this bathroom is a huge thing. And then there are 2 huge rooms, they call wardrobes, he and she. Open that, then you find what? 25 pairs of shirts and 35 pairs of huge things. And shoes, 29 pairs of shoes. Other things we don't even see, this is what they show. But how we think that more we have, more we possess and more we consume, happier we are. In fact, more I hold, more I deprive the needy people, because I am appropriating those things, because I have the power to appropriate. There are people who are powerless and therefore they are deprived. So therefore, even in hoarding there is violence. In consumption, consuming more than what is needed also is violence. All violence taken at physical level, we should become aware and sensitive. Wasting food, violence. Even eating more chapati than my stomach needs violence. I am sometimes guilty of that, but the thing is, when rasgulla is there and this is and gulab jamun is there, you consume, then the stomach complains. So, physical, in non-violence, the physical level. And food, of course, is a very big, debatable issue, eating meat and vegetarian, etc., etc. People make an argument, Swamiji, you are vegetarian, but you also consume life because vegetables also is life. And animals also, what's the difference? Why do you call them violent? But the simple answer is that in the ladder of evolution, the vegetables enjoy a very low level of consciousness. And animals and others develop a very high level of consciousness. Taken millions of years to evolve to that level. You are destroying that as comes. So when there is a choice, you must always choose that which is less conscious, less evolved than what is more evolved. There is no justification at all for killing animals for the sake of food. There was a time. In the Vedic times also, the people always, Swami in Vedas, the people also eating meat. Maybe they were. But that time options were not available. Maybe the agriculture had not grown enough to provide the vegetarian food to everybody. So they may have been consuming. What they did in the ancient time is no justification of what I should do. Now, people used to call me in United States when they built temples. Then they also built a cultural hall. And the whole community donates, everybody, all kinds of people are donating. So cultural hall is to use for marriages and receptions and parties. So next question is, can we serve alcohol, can we serve meat? And there are people who have contributed, they consume alcohol, consume meat, so they want. Then they will call Swami. So Manusmriti says that, Dashmriti says that, that's meat is permitted. And they were taking so much juice, etc. Just because they did that time is no justification for doing something now. Swami, you are a traditional person and you say that you won't follow Manusmriti. I will not follow. I will not follow any law which is not compatible to existing situation. That applied at that time. So what Manu wrote applied 5,000 years ago for those social conditions and whatever conditions prevailed at that time. Today was Smriti's constitution was Smriti, No, the Smriti. Constitution. Human rights. Not only human rights, rights for all the environment, sensitivity, environment protection. These are the values now. There can be no justification because somebody said 5,000 years ago, or somebody in Vedic times did something, cannot be justification for doing something now. And therefore meat consumption is absolutely unjustified, even scientifically. And so, vegetarian is minimizing violence. It's not vegetables also have life, no doubt about that. But they are at a much lower level of consciousness than even birds and animals. And there is a sequence of which animal can be sacrificed in favor of what. We don't need not worry about going to that. But so non-physical level also affects our food consumption. So non-violence level of mind, speech and body. But basic violence is spiritual violence. Ignorance is the first violence. Ignorance is cause of all violence. You know what ignorance does? Ignorance creates in me an identification with body, mind, sense complex, aviveka, and therefore I take this body, mind, sense complex as Atma. Therefore their requirement becomes my requirements. Their cravings become my cravings. And that is how arises the fascination or attachment for the object, because that creates in me a sense of smallness, incompleteness, unhappiness, sadness, insecurity. So I reach out to other things, seeking security, happiness, wellness. But if Atma is of the nature of security and happiness, what am I doing? I am just reaching out or running towards the objects. That is an insult to Atma, is it not so? Not an insult. All sorts of happiness right here. And you are begging for happiness where it is not. Had it been there, then it is justifiable. This is the first level of violence. Asuryanam aterlukaha andena tamasavataha tamste pretyami Kshanti yekeja atmahano jana. These people are called, these people include all of us anyway, in atmahana, they are damaging and hurting the self by desire and activity of seeking happiness and security where it is not, and overlooking and ignoring or even insulting. And so Swami was saying, sometimes he invites this revered guest. Swami comes, he's made to sit, and telephone comes. And this one is talking on telephone, talking. 45 minutes, Swami is waiting there. So this also is to invite some person like that and then ignoring that person is also hurting, is violence. So similarly, Atma Satchidananda is right there. Ocean of happiness is it. For crumbs of happiness, I am begging out there. It is an insult to the Atma. So this is a violence that is automatically carried out because of ignorance. And that's the cause of the rest of the violence. All impulses of mind are from this, and then speech and the body. So we can be really non-violent only when only a wise person will be really non-violent. Therefore, non-violence can lead you to that. Understand this. So that spiritual non-violence is removed by knowledge, because ignorance causes it, and knowledge is what will dispel it. So this is Ahimsa, non-violence. Next comes Kshanti, which goes with Ahimsa. Kshanti means normally translated as endurance, forbearance. Forbearance or endurance are the normal translation of the word Kshanti or Kshama, to endure. Because endurance, endurance means that I am putting up with something even though I am not willing. That's called endurance. So this endure forbearance, I am bearing something. So within me there may be an unwillingness. So normally, what the interpretation of forgiveness, Kshama, is not to retaliate. Somebody says, does something to me which is hurtful, and I do not react. That is usually equated to Kshama or forgiveness. But when I do not react outwardly, if within my mind there is a reaction, and within my mind I am, hurt, angry, then I am hurting myself. You follow? So this cannot be called Kshama. So the explanation of Kshama or Kshanti which is given is avikaryata, having no vikara in the mind, no reaction in the mind. So it is not simply putting up with things. In words of Swamiji, accommodating or accepting gracefully. A graceful acceptance of what I do not like. A graceful acceptance of what I cannot change is called Kshama. It's a graceful acceptance. Or a cheerful acceptance, that's a tall order. But the tallest order is a cheerful acceptance. Cheerful means that fellow abuses you and you're still cheerful. No, that's not easy. It's a tall order. But sometimes you do that. Sometimes a child, little child can abuse you also, but you smile at it. Is it not so? Why? It's a child. What do you expect? So when you understand that person, where the child is coming from, and that immaturity is there, doesn't know what it is doing, doesn't know what it is talking, and therefore you gracefully accept it, cheerfully accept it. Is it not so? If you can extend the same advantage to an entity which is older in body but child in mind. In the word of Swami, emotional immaturity. So all this anger and all this is emotional immaturity. When I insult somebody, emotional immaturity. I am jealous of somebody, emotional immaturity. I am to retaliate, emotional immaturity. I am greedy, emotional immaturity. Immature is immaturity. It doesn't matter how physically. So this child is immature. This person is 50, 40, 50, 60, whatever. When they are angry, when they are jealous, when they are retaliating, at that time they are not much older than that child. And we need not look at others, we look at our own self. That when we get angry and when we retaliate, we are behaving like a child. We did that when we were children. At that time we did not understand any pattern. We saw the older people doing it and we also did it. Well, at that time it was necessary. Child is a small thing. It's growing among adults and so sometimes it is threatened. It screams and throws tantrums as a child and that's how it protects itself. So now somebody throws tantrums and does this, that means what? In the body which is 50-year-old, there is a mind which is only 5-year-old. This is not to brand other people, understand? This is to neutralize my reaction. That look, I must know that I am not responding to a 50-year-old person, I am responding to a 5-year-old person. Our Swami would say, respond to the person behind the behavior. The outer behavior may be hurtful. Respond to the person behind the behavior. Then there will be sympathy. Towards the child there can be only sympathy, isn't it? Or better than that. When somebody causes pain to me, they must realize that that person himself or herself is in pain. Only a person in pain can cause pain to someone else. When we get angry, we should know something is happening in me. Some pain is making me angry. Some pain is making me jealous. Some pain makes me retaliate. The happy person can never be angry. When you are happy, you are never angry. You never retaliate. You are always generous. Is it not so? Happy person is a generous person. You will share your happiness. Is it not so? Hey, look at the sunrise, look at that. You see the sunrise, all of a sudden, and you're so overjoyed. You tell your companion, look at this. Happiness makes you generous. Always share. You contribute. It is pain that makes you selfish because there is insecurity. The pain, insecurity, that's what makes me behave in a manner which causes pain to others. So painful behavior is the result of the pain within. So, two-step response. What is the one-step response? responding to behavior is one-step response. What is two-step response? Responding to person behind the behavior. With that person, the person in pain. Behavior is hurtful, aggressive. But can you imagine that a very aggressive person also who wants to dominate everybody, wants to throw his weight everywhere, is inside insecure. All aggressiveness comes from inner insecurity, inner fear. You look, observe the cat. So if a dog is chasing the cat runs and then finds no way out, back to the wall, then you have to watch her. She turns around and then the dog runs away. Because she knows there is no way out now to protect her. The only way she can protect is being aggressive. So usually all aggressions are act of insecurity. Person who is happy, secure, has no reason to hurt anybody. No reason to settle any account. He is happy. People are usually unhappy. And human beings usually miserable. As I say, the most miserable creature is human being. And always in pain. Because of ignorance, etc., etc. So therefore, two-step response. Responding to the person behind the behavior. The person in pain, in grief. I have not caused that pain, Swamiji, what do I care? You may not have caused it, somebody else has caused it. That is true. It is not that that person is in pain because of me, could be anybody else. Could be some child, who knows? How many issues are there? Lots of stuff is in there. We cannot go into all this, but the idea is that pain is there. And pain makes me behave in a hurtful manner. I don't know how to deal with the pain, that's why I deal that way. It's like vomiting. I can't control. I cannot control my feelings and my emotions, etc. You vomit out. So I tell this incident, episode, that happened to my friend in the United States. When he went to work, this person returned from, we were in New Jersey, in New York City. He was returning from San Francisco, a long journey. About 5-hour journey, a non-stop flight. Sometimes the weather is not good, then sometimes the ride is bumpy. In those days they were serving food, fortunately. And so you help yourself with the food. What else can you do? You're sitting there. The stomach is full, and the ride is bumpy. Everybody cannot tolerate this stuff. The food comes up, the plane goes down, it goes down. And so with a few of these things, already the food is trying to come out. And particularly when the flight lands, that is the final thing. And the vomiting sensation is so strong, you cannot control it. But what can you do? As soon as the plane lands, everybody gets up. I don't know why. Even in there also. They just get up and, they keep on announcing, now let the plane come to a stop, full stop, let it come to this, and there's they block this aisle. So this fellow wants to quickly go out, but the aisle is blocked. He cannot go out. And then the plane takes its own time to reach the gate, and then all formalities are there, and everybody has to take out the luggage, and it takes a long time. This poor person, he could not control anymore. And this friend of mine happened to be before him, So you can see the Abhishek happened. What can you do? Can you slap him? That person is in pain, is it not? What is this vomiting? Is not some deliberate action. Throwing up, it happens. It took him from JFK to New Jersey some 2.5 hours to reach there. Until then, anyway, that was his story. But this is how we very often become like that person. Things are happening to people, and you happen to be there, and they just vomit out that feelings. That pain you cannot contain. Vomit out. So, You don't react to that person. You don't get angry. You know the problem. So whenever anybody behaves in a hurtful, painful manner, we should know that some inner pain is bothering the person, doesn't know how to handle it, doesn't know how to contain it, just comes out. And you happen to be there. Anybody else could have been there. So prarabdha. It's called prarabdha. You know? This is real prarabdha. Then he happened to be there. And so it's our prarabdha to be able to be the object of all these kind of things. Our karma. So if you go a step further, the answer is, he is not doing my karma, he is doing it. One more step. Having seen the person behind the behavior and then contain my own reaction, I can further resolve by saying that it is not this person that is doing, it is my own karma that is doing. Where is my karma? My karma makes him do this. My karma, which is meant that I have to put up with some pain. That's my karma. So then situation must be created to cause that pain. He became instrumental in causing pain. Who made him instrumental? My own karma. Or Ishvara. So that will completely remove any kind of residual reaction in my mind. This is how two-step response, three-step response. Thus we do not react. In that way, this is called respecting or accepting the person as the person is. So Kshanti, Kshama, accommodation is accommodating, not obliging. We oblige other people, so I did not say anything, Swami. You oblige them, but within you all sorts of reactions, anger, hurt is going on. That is not Kshama. Because at time it will find its way some other time. When that becomes karma, makes you do things. Meaning that ultimately your hurt and anger will come out in some way. So, Kshama means no hurt, no anger, no retaliation. It is neutralized by this Pratipaksha Bhavana. This is an ongoing act because in every relationship something is always happens. There is no perfect relationship. They say they are made in heaven and stuff like that, but I don't know. That cannot be. In the world, that cannot be. Because people are not perfect. We are not perfect. What do you mean people? We are not perfect. And I am not always in my best mood. Very often my own mood also takes over me. I also behave in unbecoming manner sometimes, as other people do. I have my own shortcomings, as others have. So if we look at our own self, then we will appreciate other people also. To appreciate the other people, let us understand our own mind, then we will know everything. Sometimes they ask me, Swami, how do you know this? I say, I have to just know my mind. Then I know how do you know what's happening to me? Because that's happening to me also. So observing the mind, understanding the mind, in light of this teaching. Psychology, this is much more than psychology, what Vedanta teaches, because it starts from fundamental. Psychology takes desire as real and your need as real. Vedanta says, no, it's not real. Anyway, therefore, not storing any hurt is important. Otherwise, that hurt will manifest itself in an action, either oral action or physical action at some point in time. So, cheerful accommodation or acceptance of the shortcomings of others. Swami will give a funny example. We know what Kshama is, by the way. We are very forgiving towards a mosquito, generally. If a mosquito stings, what do? You get angry at him. Do you get angry at mosquito? Mosquito is inconvenient, all right. If you are careful, you will just, make it fly away. Not then we do this, but otherwise, Vedantic people, they don't think like that. But do I get angry at a mosquito? Do I hate a mosquito? No. Because I understand mosquito. What else can you expect from a mosquito? When a dog barks at me, when they invite the Swami for Bhiksha and then they're with Purna Kumbha and chanting Nakaramana, then the dog is barking. The pet. Maybe it is chanting its own thing. But do I get angry at the dog? What else do you expect? Or in India there are all these so-called mad people, maybe schizophrenia, whatever they are, they're called mad, and so wandering in the street. And so during the day he collects his things, and at evening he's standing at the corner of a street and laughing. And so when you pass by, he makes a remark at you, with funny looking hairstyle and clothes. So what do? You fight with him? Why did you say this to me? What else can you expect? This is called Kshaman, by the way. So this example of accommodate, we accommodate that person for what the person is. What do we expect? Swami says that we give benefit to all these fellows in the world. And we always have problem with human beings, by the way. We have no problem with dogs and cats and no, we don't have any problem usually with stones and rocks, etc. Because we know what else can they be. A problem only with human beings. And that too, human beings with whom we are related. And that too, we are closely related. Who causes me most pain, The person who is most closely related to me. Why is it so? Because relationship means expectation. And closer the relationship, more the expectation. More the expectation, more the chances of the expectation not being fulfilled. Chances of getting angry. So who makes me over angry? Always they talk about spouses, Because usually all jokes are made by men there, but they talk about women on WhatsApp and whatever jokes are there usually. Or mother-in-law in the olden days. But it is our own expectation that is causing this rather than the person. We are dropping the expectation. Accepting the person or accommodating the person is letting go of the expectation of what that person should be. Giving up expectation means accepting the person as the person is. Not making demand upon them that they should change for my convenience. That's what our demand is. Behind all expectation there is one demand, that you should change for my sake. It's all selfish stuff. You should not sit like this. Don't stand like that. Don't dress like that. Don't behave like that. Don't do that. Don't marry with them, etc., etc. So many demands are there. Not this college, not there. Become a doctor. Don't get married to that. I know what people will tell me, etc., etc. Meaning that the world should conduct itself to make me comfortable. That is my demand, basic demand. Please love me. That's my demand. Please love me. How do I think you love? When you do what I want you to do. That's called love. But this is basic need. A needy person that I am demands love and favor from others. But then I have my own definition of what love is. What is love? When you do what I want you to do. That's called love. That's in my definition. Change that definition. Whatever that person does is love. Suppose we change. Not easy, but change our own definitions. So important because this is the most important value as far as relationships are concerned. And our life is nothing but relationship. Human being is a social animal. So these two things go together. Ahimsa and Kshanti. I do not cause hurt to anybody, that is Ahimsa, my value. When somebody causes hurt to me, then I accommodate that. This is a common question. Swamiji, I don't hurt other people, but they hurt me. Then what should I do? Then when Kshama comes. So relationship requires these two values. Ahimsa and Kshanti or Kshama. A lot can be said, but these are basic things. Or Swami would say, these two values, Ahimsa and Kshanti, would make a person a saint. You may not be a wise person, but you can be a saintly person. Then people are comfortable with you. People are comfortable with a non-violent person, who is non-violent? A non-demanding person. A demanding person is a violent person. So more non-demanding you become, more accommodating you become, more you create comfort for others, easier you make for others to relate to you. So non-demanding. Kshama requires us to be a and also Ahimsa requires us to become non-demanding people, meaning graceful acceptance of what is. Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Bādarayanam Sutrabhashya Kripau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Veda Vibhagine Vyomavadhyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. So next class is at 5 o'clock, remember, not 4:30.